Bam.
This is Brian Wetzel.
And this is Michael Kasper, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
Yeah, I thought we'd discuss MVPs. And look, there's a lot of people that talk about MVPs, and it's a passionate subject because MVPs can be a lot of things. I think the best example is Andre Dawson won the MVP before the season even started in '87. Yes, he had a good year, but he also sent in a blank contract and said, "Fill in the number you want. I just want to play," and that broke the back of collusion. And that dividend is still that's still paying and getting people paid. So that might be non-traditional, but there's a lot of the point is there's a lot of ways, fellas, to accumulate value in a season. So I guess Brian, how do you see value and what is an MVP?
Well, I mean, like as far as we'll just start off from the top where Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge is a contentious topic right now.
Yeah.
And I love Judge, man, and he's killing it. But as far as the season goes, I think there's something to be said about Cal Raleigh having a historic season for a catcher. I mean, I don't think I see people say stuff like, oh, Salvador Perez has to get to 2,000 hits to make the Hall of Fame. It's like, yo, that's a lot of hits for a catcher.
That's
like,
a lot of hits for a catcher.
A lot. I don't that people. I heard somebody say that people talk about Cal Raleigh catching as if he has a terminal illness, which I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets overblown, but man, dude, if he hit 61, 62 bombs, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Judge. He's killing it. I think he's a Hall of Famer right now. But that's just my 2 cents on that. And as far as like, yeah, you can say so and so is so much more valuable. Ohtani is so much more valuable, so much WAR, so many home runs, this, that. But I think there's something to be said for the historicity of it, you know?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Michael, what about you? Where are you at on this? I mean, do you struggle to define and decide? Is it a black and white thing? Maybe is that true? Possible?
I don't think so. I mean, in the sense that I don't think it's black and white. There's a lot of ways that value is created. You know, we talked a little bit about this last time, but like there's value that's created in ways that doesn't show up in any metric. There's value that that you create by being a good teammate, by being a good leader. I do think at the end of the day, it's mostly about the numbers you put up, though. And I think there's some people that want to put so much focus on the intangibles, or whether it's a catcher or an outfielder doing it, that it's like I don't know if any amount of defense can make up for the gap in the Cal versus Judge numbers. I do think it's interesting that you bring up money, though, because that's something I never hear anybody talk about in the MVP conversation. Cal is making like $17.5 million this year, and Judge is making I think it's like what 39 million.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to, if you're talking about modern Major League Baseball and you're talking about the concept of value, it's really hard to divorce divorce money and value, because that's kind of how baseball works. That's kind of how the business works.
Yeah. I am a little more all over the place because there's different things. There's different times, different places. One of the things we've seen a lot of people say is, who would you pick if it was Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge, on the Yankees together? And Pete would say neither, because when you are not singular on your team, then you're not as valuable as somebody else who is singular. Schwarber, for example, would be a bigger, more valuable player. But back when Manny and Poppy were just killing it back to back in the lineup, they never won an MVP because there was always a lot of help there at the Hall of Fame level. This, I think, normally would be Ohtani's problem. He's got a lot of runs. He also has Betts and Freeman hitting behind him. And then the other guy that hits behind him and drove him in a lot is Teo, and Teo missed a lot of time, and he still knocked him in like 15 times. And so there's a lot of help in the lineup. It's harder to have your values stand out. On the other hand, a team like the Brewers, where everybody's a high sevens, mid eights OPS player, they're the best team in baseball, because there's just no easy outs. And so I can't be convinced that there's no value on the Brewers. Certainly the Blue Jays and the Tigers have had value. So why aren't we talking about anybody from those teams? Because and I'm a big believer in this. My first element of MVP is, did you win or did you lose? Mm-hmm. And if you lose, yes, you can have value in losing, but that's like Jeffrey Leonard winning the MVP for a losing playoff team. He was incredible, and that's happened once in 30 years. So it's harder to amass that value when you lose. And does that change how you guys see things when you think about, yeah, you know what? Like the other one is Mark McGwire hit 70 home runs and didn't win the MVP. Yes, his team came in like fourth place in his division. It's just not all that valuable compared to what Chipper Jones did, and his team went to the playoffs. Was Chipper on too good of a team? Okay, maybe I'm glad to have that conversation. But the first conversation is, did your team win? Did you help your team win that day? How much did you help your team win? How great was your timing? And all of these things, I think, are value that we struggle to see.
Mm-hmm. I've heard people make the argument a lot that maybe a not quite as good player on a bad team could be more valuable than a really good player on a good team, and that's just something I don't subscribe to, because it's like I think winners win, and I don't think players should be penalized for the fact that their team is good. I think you should actually be rewarded for that in the MVP conversation. This comes up a lot with like Jose Ramirez and people like him.
Yeah.
I also think you made a really good point. There's a difference in how some people see the MVP. Some people see it as who is the best player, and other people see it as who provides the most value specifically in the context of their team. And I think those can be different questions.
Yeah. Brian,
and it basically comes down to what you want the MVP award to represent.
And can it be both? Can 1 year some guy is so dominant that he is the obvious MVP, even though other players are valuable? And then there might be, because there's story in this too, right? That historicity that Brian was talking about. Brian, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I see both sides of the argument, and I try not to take a rigid approach on it, because every year is so different. There's so much different stuff going on around the league. Like, I don't like to, like, I think it's insane that Mark McGwire didn't win the MVP. Like, you hit 70 home runs, dude. Like, how are you not the MVP?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I want to ask Michael a question.
Yeah.
Back when Altuve beat Judge out for the MVP, Bill James wrote an article stating that there was differences in their WAR totals. It could be up to 2.5%, or not 2.5%, 2.5 WAR. And I think it was related to leverage index or something like that. Do you think that's been refined? Whatever that issue was, I can't remember, honestly. Sorry. Do you think that issue's been kind of refined and the WAR is more accurate now than it was back then?
I'm not actually. I'm not aware of that specific article or that specific issue. I do know that they're always tweaking it. To the point where I've seen that Judge versus Altuve 2017 graphic a couple or was it
I think it was.
I can't remember if it's 2017 or 2019. I'm blanking on that, but I've seen that graphic, and I've seen the WAR totals be. I've seen one where Altuve's well in the lead and one where Judge is slightly in the lead because they do change. They do continually change how it's calculated over time. So I think they've finally changed it so that I think the recent changes to it have made it so that I think for Baseball Reference WAR, Judge is in the lead in that year. So I would imagine that whatever that issue is has been refined out of it.
Yeah. I was just curious what you thought about that. Because you know how it relates to Raleigh, may potentially beating them out again.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. No, go ahead, man.
I was just I don't really put any stock into differences of like less than one WAR. I mean, it's a great way to organize players into tiers. Yeah. But when you're like, I've seen people make arguments about or that stem from a difference of like 0.2 or 0.3, and it's like it's really it's most valuable as just a whole number. Basically, it tells you what the tiers are. Like if you look at like all the players over 7 and then all the players over 6, like it's so obvious that it's a really good way to group who's good and who's valuable. Like I don't think there's any argument that all this the guys over 7 like Bobby Witt, Judge, Ohtani, and Cal. I think that might be the only people over 7. I don't think there's any argument that those guys are kind of in like a tier entirely of their own compared to people that are 5. But yeah, when you get into like the fractional decimal portions of it, I'm like, I don't really know.
Yeah, it's like making a difference between 775 OPS and 825. You're talking 50 points of value over 1,000-point scale. It's not something that you can actively see in 6 months, especially when, like I think Andy Pages is a good example. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And a lot of mediocrity in his down. And so you're going to tell me there's a big difference. Well, what month are we talking about? Are we talking about May? Or are we talking about July? When you have a good month, bad month. And this gets to be a lot of noise, too much noise to say, hey, these 50 points of OPS are making a significant difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, when that gap's more like 186 points.
Fair enough, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. And then again, and then maybe not, right? I mean, the timing of things. I'm big on, I'll break down the season into tiers. First 2 months of the season, the games are a little less valuable than they are in June or July. And then August is even more valuable. And then September is more valuable still. The Mariners just went on a season defining tear, of nine wins, 1 loss. And that there has to be value there. There has to be that late in the season when they were that close to fighting with the Rangers, and they just at the right time. Yes, there's some luck involved, but also there's a lot of value in luck. There's also a lot of value in the timing of things. I just went through the Yankees April again just to make sure I wasn't crazy. And Judge is important, but he's not the only important person on that team. Rodon and Fried and Grisham had the most points by my system in April, and that drives people crazy. But when you have players who have good years and they hit home runs at key times and you hit a single, I'm sorry, it's just more valuable. And so I distill WPA really into like the keyest moments, the moments that decide games. And when I look at the whole season, I wipe out any game that's more than a 7-run or greater blowout. I don't count those because everybody has value in that game, and I don't consider any game that's a loss. These are soft rules. I can change them. Like if you have a 4-home-run game, okay, I'll give you a big bump there. But for the most part, if you lose or if you win by a zillion runs, the value is tough to suss out. But when you have those games that are 6 runs or closer and you win, well, now we can look and see who made a difference that day. And and Brian will appreciate this. It's guys like Stott and Kepler who just continue to hit the ball at the right time. Now, is the MVP candidate like Schwarber on base, is Harper on base, and that's who they drive in? Yeah, there's some value there, but that's accounted for in WPA. But the person who has that biggest moment or those biggest moments, to me, is accruing a lot of value for the team. And if the pitcher can go, and this is just what I've noticed, if the pitcher can go 6 or more innings and just stymie the offense, but now you just need a single with someone on second base. And so that's enormously valuable. And so guys like Fried and Kershaw and Yamamoto, these guys are really putting together a lot of wins for a team. And we just don't seem to even try to discuss that anymore. No question there, just a comment. Go ahead.
No, I think that's a really good point. You do see like you'll see clutch stats and leverage stats used in MVP discussions and things like that. But I don't see I rarely see someone present like a graph showing which player has caused their team to take the lead more, which player has tied the game up more, like in the Judge versus Cal debates.
You're gonna make graphs. Make a graph.
I was that was running through my mind. I was like, maybe that's what I'll work on this evening, because it's even looking at if you're looking at the season cumulatively. I mean, to be fair, cumulatively looking at a season, looking at the rate stats and all that stuff, that's an accurate way to look at a player's season, but it doesn't account for situations and leverage. It only accounts for totals. Now, right. It's still a great way to kind of comprehensively evaluate how good their season was. But yeah, there is a difference in situations and leverage and in how much the games matter that you're playing at that point. That doesn't really show up when you're looking at the full season metrics.
Go ahead, Brian.
What do you think like you said about using the right stats to evaluate the MVP? What do you think those stats are?
I think for offense, I think it's OPS, WOBA, OPS plus, WRC plus. I think those are the best. To me, those are kind of my gold standard metrics of comprehensive offensive performance. But at the same time, everything I listed there was a rate stat, and you also got to account for how much the guy played and then how much the guy actually did. Like I think I don't think you should totally focus on rate stats, home runs, RBI. I think they're also important. I think there should be and can be a difference between how you evaluate MVP of a season and also just how you do some of the more advanced like sabermetric performance grading as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think WPA.
Sorry,
I was gonna say I don't think WPA gets enough talk in the MVP debate at all.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of
yes, that's true.
This is where I jump in and say distill WPA to the crucial moments of the season, the ones that lead to a win, and turn that into the number. And that's sort of what I try to do. And again, I wait it as the season gets longer. I might even wait the back half of September, but only if something's on the line too. Here's the other thing: is if you're 19 games up, like, those games are just as valuable as they were in April. The weight goes down. Here's the thing about this too. Yes, I'm digging in deep into these things, but if we're going to give out this award, I think we owe it to people to do more than just, hey, his WAR is higher, or whatever it is. There has to be some analysis, and whatever your mechanism is for measuring, fine, but also be open to other conversations. It seems that we're desperate for unity of thought on MVPs. Like, this must be unanimous or it's illegitimate. I'll never talk about the MVP again. And then here we are next season talking about the MVP again. And this is where I'm going to throw in my thing. This is I'm going to put Pete in the main screen. Here's the thing, everybody. If you have the best offensive season, they have an award for that. It's called the Henry Aaron Award. And I don't know why, but every time I bring this up, maybe like Brian and a few other people, nobody seems to be able to handle that we already have an award for the best season. So in theory, in the American League, we've got no problem here. We got Raleigh and we've got Judge. Probably one of those guys is going to win the Hank Aaron. It shouldn't be both guys as a norm like it was last year with Ohtani unanimously winning the Hank and the Cy. That's a lack of creative thought. That's a lack of measure. We're missing things, especially when, by my measure, Ohtani wasn't even the most valuable player on his team. And this year, guess what? Again, not. Like, Freeman has way more crucial hits. And it's not close. It's not close at all. So we have to do the work to be able to do this. It just seems too simple just to point at Judge and go, him have good season. Yeah, he had a great season. He did. So did Grisham. So did Bellinger. So did Goldie for part of the year. So did Rodon. Fried. All these guys had great seasons. Are you telling me that only Judge was the one that had all the value? No, of course not. I don't buy that. What do you do about this Henry Aaron Award thing?
I think you're really onto something with the Henry Aaron Award. I mean, there's nothing negative about it. You get to honor Hank Aaron. You get to give another guy an award. You get to, like we talked about WPA and stuff. Okay, well, let's say a guy has a ton of WPA. The guy's been clutch all year. And then you have another guy like Ohtani who's, let's say he's been in a lot of blowouts and stuff. He hasn't been in a lot, but he's had a great offensive season cumulatively. Yeah, give him the Hank Aaron Award. He still did it in major league games. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the MVP, like you said. I think it's crazy. I can't believe MLB hasn't gotten on it. I think it's a great PR thing. I think it's great for baseball. I think you're really onto something there.
Yeah, make a bigger deal about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not talked about at all. Like, people only talk about MVPs as kind of as part of the legacy. Like, there's no shame in being the unanimous best offensive player in your league. I do like what you're saying about looking at like the critical, crucial hits, Pete, that like kind of that put your team ahead. The other thing I'd add to that is you also want to look at situations where maybe games that ended in a loss where the player had an opportunity to have a crucial plate appearance and then didn't do anything with it. Because if you just focus on the times where they did something good, you're going to miss some of those missed opportunities, and you got to also detract from the value too when you're looking at that. See all the times that the player had a chance to tie it up and missed or something like that.
Yeah.
I
totally agree with you. Yeah.
That's I mean, Michael, I don't know if you remember this from back in the day, but looking at negatives, like that was a big criticism of win shares, is that there were no loss shares. You know what I mean? You got to look at everything.
Yeah, you got to look at everything, and if you just focus on the team wins, you're it's kind of like a selection bias thing where you're not seeing, was the guy a detriment to the team in other situations that kind of offset that a little bit.
I'm not taking anything away from win shares or nothing. You know what I mean? That was just the
Mm-hmm.
criticism of it, was no loss shares. It just made me think of that.
Yeah. No, but it is it's a good point about, well, all of it. Let's turn up the volume on the Hank Aaron Award. Let's celebrate that. And Baseball Reference, let's put that in the skinny as well.
Yeah.
Because these things matter. Manny won a Hank Aaron Award. Big Papi won a Hank Aaron Award. These are big people who doing incredible things. And sure, they couldn't both be the MVP on a team like the Red Sox, but they did win that award. And so, yeah, we do short shrift that award. And again, as soon as you bring it up, it's just crickets. Nobody's even able to talk about it. And then when I say, what do you think the Hank Aaron Award does? They don't even respond to it because they're just so blinded about it, which tells me that there's a lack of knowledge, a lack of critical thought. Like, wait, what do you mean Hank Aaron Award? What are you talking about here? So
I think a lot of people don't even know it exists.
No.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And so when we talk about these, the prime, let's say the prime four guys, Schwarber, Ohtani, Raleigh, Judge, which ones are the obvious? Is there an obvious Hank Aaron Award winner from both leagues this year?
What do you think, Mike?
I think for AL it's got to obviously be Judge. I mean, there's nobody. We talk about those elite guys. There's nobody even close to Judge as far as OPS, WRC plus, really any cumulative offensive metric you look at. There's nobody touching Judge. Like for reference, I think Ohtani's OPS is like 1,008 right now. Judge's is 1,132, and I think Cal's at like a 948. I mean, that gap between, think about how good Ohtani is, and Judge is still 124 points higher. I mean, that's crazy. I think people don't. I think we're so used to seeing Judge put up those seasons that people don't really appreciate just how unbelievably good that is. If somebody new came onto the scene and some rookie came up and put up a season like Judge's, we'd be like, wow, this guy is the best player in history. To be fair, that's kind of what we got with Nick Kurtz this year. I think he was also in the thousands. He just wasn't qualified. But
right.
But people Judge has been doing this for 10 years now, and I think people are. I think there is kind of a Judge fatigue where people just don't fully appreciate how unbelievable he is offensively.
Yeah. The gap between Corbin Carroll at 5.2 WAR and Gerald Perdomo at 6.8, that's just not that big. It's just not that big. And so you have to dig in on these guys. And I'm not saying Gerald Perdomo is the MVP of the National League or anything, but if we're going to look at WAR, we have to understand that, like you said earlier, there's some room to work with and some analysis to do on when you got it. If you stacked up 2 WAR in April and then kind of just chugged along at half a WAR per month, there's an exchange of value there that isn't equal, right? You had a big first half, and a lot of players have a big second half or a big first half, or are just kind of up and down over the season. And a lot of it seems to be the perception of how good someone is. If I was to say, hey, Andy probably has had a decent season, Dodger fans are going to yell at me and they say how great he was. Like, well, in April, yes, but later on, not as much, right? And so we do struggle with time, fellas. And so when I look at, like, Judge has had a great season. He has had a couple of down months, though, for him. And the Yankees struggled in those months. So maybe that means he is valuable. And this brings me to another point. A lot of times we can see value when it's not there. So when Ketel Marte gets hurt at the end of, I think it was last season, and the Diamondbacks fall into a tiebreaker situation because he wasn't around at the critical time of the year. If he plays 30 more games at the back end of the season, almost for sure, they go to the playoffs without even worry about a tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
When Mookie broke his hand when he was playing shortstop for the Dodgers the year that Acuna won the MVP, up until that moment, he was a legitimate MVP candidate. I think I've got my timing right here. But the wow of 70 stolen bases took away from, hey, holy shit, this guy's playing shortstop. He was playing right field last year, right? And so we struggle with, as much as we know that stolen bases don't matter, if you couple them with a lot of home runs, all of a sudden we get kind of snazzy about that. But still, half of the 40-40 guys haven't won the MVP. So it's weird, like what captures our attention.
Yeah, but they were real quick to give closers MVP right around that time. They gave Eckersley MVP, Willie Hernandez, just weird. Just so weird.
What about who was the Padres pitcher? Mark.
Was it Mark Davis?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and you look and you're like, wow, why?
Yeah,
why?
Just throwing out MVPs to relievers.
Yeah. Maybe Eckersley, maybe because he was so brilliant, maybe, right? But that would mean Chapman would be a guy we're looking at MVP, and zero people are talking about that. Partly because
I'd give him the Cy Young.
Well, that's a different conversation. Yeah.
So
you think, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so here's a question for y'all. What would a closer have to do in your eyes to amass roughly the same amount of value as like what Judge and Cal have? That's kind of separate from like just what actual like WAR number would they have to put up. I'm just curious, imagining what a closer season would look like. That to me is like, okay, yeah, that's roughly equivalent with what Judge is doing as far as value goes.
He'd have to save 162 games, man. There's nothing he could do. Nothing. Absolutely.
I mean, if you, I'm just trying to make a case for this. If you came in and you shut down 45 games and there was no save opportunity in another 30 games, right? You were enormously valuable to your team. You preserved wins. A lot of in my system, I don't give the bullpen a specific point. I just give it to the bullpen. If the bullpen goes 5 innings and gives up essentially nothing, every game they do that, they get some value. Maybe the third, and I don't always give a third value. So I'll go MVP 1, 2, and then 3. But if the bullpen holds down a lead and just shuts down the other offense, well, I have to account for that value, right? And you can't just say all these guys that got holds, because that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it's possible for a closer to be the guy at the right time. If he's shortening like that incredible Astros bullpen, it was Lidge, Dotel, and who was the other guy? Oh, it was Billy, right? And so those guys, they made the game 6 innings long. You had to beat them in 6 innings, otherwise you weren't going to win. That was enormously valuable.
Yeah. Can't give it to all 3 of them though.
Yeah, no. I mean, you got to pick one, and so you pick Wagner, right? Because he's the head dog. But yeah, I mean, if you're making the game 6 innings long and Clemens just gave you no runs over 6 innings, good luck beating the Astros. You just need anything to happen, a wild pitch for the guy on third base, anything, right, to win.
Yeah,
because the pitching did it. They did the work.
Yeah, we're kind of treading into pitcher territory more than MVP territory, but you know how I feel about pitchers. I ain't giving no pitcher the MVP. I wouldn't even give an opener to Cy Young.
Yeah. I hear you. It's hard, but there they are. I mean, your Phillies have by far the biggest. If you look at positions,
we're churning out relievers, dude.
What's that?
Churning them out. Relievers.
Listen, I'm talking about starters right now. Your guys' starters as a cohort have the biggest gap between them and second place, even bigger between them and third place, obviously. And it really shows the value of that group of starters and how incredible, even though Wheeler's down, they have absolutely been among the most valuable people on the field in 2025. How do you award that or reward that? I don't know. But you look at that gap, and it's monstrous. No one else is even close to their peak. They are the peakiest thing out there. Yeah. And so to me, like, hey, listen, that's pretty fucking valuable. That's more valuable probably than Kyle Schwarber. Probably, maybe not.
Maybe. I mean, dude, there's only, I think after Kepler at 17 home runs, Harper's the only guy with more than 17 home runs other than Schwarber, and he has 27.
Yeah.
Like, where would the Phillies be without him?
Yeah.
To me, that's what makes him the MVP. I mean, Michael almost talked me into having Judge be the MVP of the American League there. I can't really decide.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to a guy who's a Yankees and a Braves fan, Michael. I know you're not here to defend yourself, but I'm going to rip on you a little bit.
Let's go Yankees.
Yeah.
Is my camera frozen? I'm just my.
It sure is. That or you're a ventriloquist. Yeah.
Let me.
You do what you got to do.
Let me leave and rejoin and see if I can.
Michael said about how he looks so much at the stats and not so much at like the intangibles and everything like that. And you and I talked about that a lot, about how that's kind of a tiebreaker. You know what I mean? Like the bat, I said the bat supersedes all. I'm sure Michael agrees with that. Like the bat's the most important thing, especially today, dude, with the 3 true outcomes. Like, no one's gonna freaking Rabbit Moranville their way to an MVP, dude. No one's Zoilo Versailles their way to an MVP. You're hitting 50-some bombs. Like,
Even like when Tony, as much as we love Tony Gwynn, even when he was playing, it was like, but he's a singles hitter, right? Like he still falls into that contact hitter trap. And so he might be hitting with an enormous batting average, but it's not hard to look at someone 25 home runs and be like, you know, like how do I wipe all that out? And so, it is harder to Rabbit Moranville. You know, it is hard, right?
Yeah, like that's the intangibles are a tiebreaker, and I mean, what more Judge is the captain of the Yankees. I mean, he's Jeter-esque in the way he interviews and conducts himself.
Sure.
I mean, sure, he hasn't won a World Series, blah blah blah, but I mean, I don't know how many more intangibles he won out of the guy.
Right.
Like he's got it all.
Yeah. I'm looking at the all the players in the National League, and you know, I have that that WAR rate stat that I do when I look at that, just to see if that informs anything. And I'm trying to bring Michael into the chat here. Okay, well, we'll worry about Michael in a second. But when I look at that number, obviously Perdomo, Ohtani, Horner, these are the guys that accumulate WAR at the highest rate. But also, here's a guy that zero people talk about is Will Smith, another catcher who up until recently was leading the league in batting and has tons of power and everything else. There is something to be said for the challenge of catching and what it takes to get on the field and be elite like those guys are. Real Muto too, also fantastic. Not having a great year this year, but still he's 34 and he's fronting a playoff caliber team. That's incredible.
Yeah, batting high in the order.
Yeah.
I think Real Muto gets more love than Will Smith does.
Oh, for sure. People don't even know Will Smith exists.
No, they don't.
Yeah. It's crazy. But I mean, when you look at the rate of WAR, we were talking, Michael, about my goofy rate of WAR stat here, you know. The guys that accumulate WAR in the least amount of games, right? And look, you can go all the way down to about 19 or 20, where like Mookie Betts and Max Muncy are, and they're picking up one WAR about once a month, right? And so there's guys who do it faster. Ohtani does it about 1 in every 23 games, if you like my number. That's just not that big of a difference, and you're not going to see that much on the field. Is that an extra WAR over the course of a season? Sure, right? But that's still just not that big of a difference. So maybe WAR isn't the measure that we think it is. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
As far as like actual production, like it's you're right. You're not going to see the difference play out over an appreciable amount of time. Like I interact with so many people who are like, you know, I've been watching this team for 60 years and they don't look good. It's like, you're not going to be able to tell just by watching. And so, the difference between a WAR every 20 games and one every 30 games, like it's so incremental and it's so small that could just be a couple of hits.
Sure. Yeah. When I was watching the Padres game today, and Arise had a hit, and then he had a ball he blistered over to Batty, right? And I'll take as many of those hits, and Batty caught it, so it was an out. But I'll take as many of those blistered balls towards third base as he can muster, right? It's just sometimes the ball gets caught, and if you see enough of those in a row, you might think, he's having a down year. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. And then if you have a bouncing ball up the middle for 2 runs, you know, to win the game. Hey, who cares about the stupid line drives? You got the ball to bounce up the middle.
I've found that, like, you know, I'll watch a player have like a few really bad games, or like even just take a terrible swing and miss, and then in the future when thinking about that player, it's really hard to divorce one really bad plate appearance that I saw from how I'm evaluating that player at that time. It's like people will see a couple bad plate appearances from a guy and just they without knowing it, they form an opinion on that guy, and they don't understand that it's more than just about like how the guy looks in one plate appearance, but it's so hard to know that you've kind of subconscious, like we form those opinions so quickly, and then you look at the numbers a month later and you're like, oh, he's actually had a fantastic season. I just watched 2 really bad games and kind of made my entire opinion up without actually looking at the numbers.
Yeah. I wrote a thing about Soto and how like you can have a Hall of Fame career doing this. And he had just like the most mundane line in the world. It was like 1 run, 1 walk, that's it, you know? And you just like repeat that 3,000 times. Obviously you're going to get some hits along the way, but just that level of production, it's hard for us to see that he's doing Hall of Fame things every day. You remember when it was like, oh, he's not worth it. And then he came and he had a tiny bit of a slow start. He was actually fine, but everybody was so ready for him to hit 40 home runs on day 1 that they thought he was having a bad year. And then right around, I think it was in July, he all of a sudden had the highest OPS on the team, hasn't relinquished that. And Alonso's great. Lindor's great, but the big dog on that team, we know, as expected, is Soto. And Soto, by the way, gets no MVP love. Where would the Mets be without Soto?
Last.
Seriously.
Not making the playoffs where they are now, where they belong.
Yeah.
That's something Michael and I can agree on. Mets don't belong in the playoffs.
Correct. They're barely winning with Soto.
Right?
Yeah. They won today, though. Beat a good team today. They won. That's good.
I feel bad for Lindor. I like Lindor a lot.
Sure. He was great. He to me, just based on my measure, he was the MVP last year because as late as, I don't know, you guys tell me, when was it? Late July, they were 10 games back and totally out of the race. And then he just hauled that team over the hump. And that's not valuable at shortstop.
Right.
He's been doing that since day
1. He's been doing that since the day he came up. I love the guy. It's a shame he didn't win a World Series in Cleveland. Shame him and Jose Ramirez couldn't stay together. That was a nice core.
Yeah.
I think Lindor's probably like one of the top, for me, he's one of the top 5 most likable players like in baseball history.
Oh yeah, dude, he's well on his way to being a top 10 shortstop of all time, dude.
He's great.
Yeah, that's true.
Well on his way. I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna, but the way it's looking, yeah. Guy's nuts.
Yeah, and I know likable isn't really a rigorous offensive metric, but like I don't know, I love the guy. That's unfortunately the way I feel about the Phillies. There's so many guys on the Phillies that I just really love. I love Schwarber, I love Harper, I love watching them. I find myself legitimately cheering for the Phillies way more than I care to admit. I mean, I'm not going to become a Frankie's fan. I'm not ready to make that leap. I think 2 primary teams is good, but it's like there's so many likable guys. I'm cheering for the Phillies, unfortunately.
As much as you say like likable is not a very rigorous standard, for sure, Bonds got penalized for being dislikable. He was hard to like. There was a lot of contempt for him. Was Terry Pendleton more valuable than him? Probably not. But if Bonds was more likable, if Bonds was Jeter, Bonds probably wins that thing. Was Kent really better than Bonds the year that he won the MVP? Maybe. But Bonds was so solid. Just such a hard to like guy. He didn't get, so it can go against you, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I think Kent won it. Ken won it the year before Robo Bonds, right? That was the last year before he just went crazy, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, there's fatigue there with giving guys 3 MVPs. It's never been done other than Robo Bonds. Bonds had 3, and that would have been it, dude. Unless he hit 73 freaking home runs and had a 1,400 OPS. You can't deny that. But other than that, no one's ever won more than 3 MVPs, and Ohtani's already there.
Yeah. Kent won it in 2000.
If the writers are gonna give him one or not. I'm skeptical. I'm really skeptical Ohtani's gonna win it just because of that. To be honest with you.
Really? Okay. In my mind, Ohtani seems pretty clear cut for the NL. So that's interesting to hear you say that. But yeah, I guess it's the same kind of you get Ohtani fatigue the same way you get the Judge fatigue.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I just don't think they're gonna give it to him.
Really? Okay.
If I had a vote for Ohtani today, I wouldn't vote for him. He wouldn't be my MVP. The Dodgers are just too stacked. And then there is this fatigue creating factor. Like he opened up the 50-50 club. What? Because he has 50 fucking strikeouts? No, like that's not an MVP great thing. He is super valuable. I love to watch him pitch. It's all good, but relax. Like there's some other great pitchers. There's a great pitcher on that team. There's Yamamoto. We're talking about Kershaw just announced today he's going to retire this year. Let's just let that be. Ohtani is great. He can pitch. He's not anywhere near the best pitcher in the league. He's above average, but for how many innings? He's not better than Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen's done more for his team. So people get it just becomes exhausting when it's like, hey, Ohtani's coming up in 7 batters. Like, okay, great. Like let's let Ohtani, let's enjoy him, right? I've watched a lot of Ohtani games, and I will say this too about Ohtani, and again, I think the world of his game. I think he's wonderful. I've been aware of him since he was in the Japanese leagues, but he is very big on hitting the single home run when the Dodgers are already up 10-2. Like he does that a lot because he just hits so many damn home runs, but that doesn't, to me, create value. That is a home run that is part of the game, but the essence of the game, the decision point of the game was long before that. And and maybe that's unfair on my part. And I'm ready for that to be the case. But I don't find a lot of value in that. Is that unfair of me to say that? Like when you hit a home run in a game that's broken away, or the Dodgers are already up and had one of the best, pitching approaches in baseball. Is that unfair of me to say that? It's not that impressed.
Mike Trout made his whole career on that. So
yeah,
I've heard people levy the same accusation at Aaron Judge too. So
yeah. I mean, you do a lot, right? So you're busy, and there's a lot of value, but it's small value. And so having a single and hitting 400 in May and all that is great. That is incredible. But not as incredible as hitting a home run that is 3 runs. We know that. We all know that. So when Grisham wins the game with a 2-run home run when they needed it, well, does that make him MVP? No, but it does take an MVP ball out of Judge's bag in Pete's world.
Mm-hmm. But you also can't blame the players for doing the best that they can in the situation that they're in.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're hitting a lot of solo home runs because none of your lousy teammates can get on base, I mean you can't fault the guy for that. You also can't fault the guy for his team winning. I mean if they're up if your team's always up 10 runs, you can't really blame him for continuing to. I mean we saw the Yankees the other day. They were up 10-1 and they end up winning 10-9. Like even in some of those games, when it was 8-1 and they kept homering, it might not have seemed very valuable, but it turns out those were the deciding runs. So
yeah, and I get that, but also if there's 4 guys hitting home runs and you hit a solo shot and someone hits a 2-run shot, and another, Bellinger. I saw one of the games in April. Bellinger had a home run and a double, and he won that game with his bat. And at the crucial points, he tied the game and gave him the lead. So at some point, someone wins the game ball that day, and you can't just say it's Judge because it's Judge. Now you might give it to him because he's the leader, and there's a lot of greatness that day. That might happen, but if you aren't the man that day, that's just part of the value. That's how. This is the problem with the great team is when the value balls are divvied out. Hey, you know what? Your teammates are good. Your pitcher was great. Your pitcher said they're only going to get 1 run, boys. I see 2 from you. Yeah, you get the fucking game ball 2 runs over 7 innings. Hell yeah, we'll take that. When you look at the guys who have the highest average game score, like let's say anything above 60 is going to be a chance for the team to really win. You know who the guys are. It's Skubal, it's Wheeler, it's all these guys that do this 10, 13, 12, 15, 17 times a year. If your pitcher goes out 17 times, let's say that's better than half of his starts, and he throws up a game score of 60 or more, that's really fucking valuable. Or no? I don't know. You guys tell me. I know Brian's like, screw them pitchers.
Yeah, I don't care. Michael, go ahead.
I mean, I definitely agree, and I think this is kind of going into the Cy Young debate. We're kind of getting to the Skeens issue. I know I just earlier said winners win. I don't think you can blame pitchers if they don't get any run support. I know there's a whole segment of the population that wants to believe pitchers can just will their team to victory, but like you look at Skeens' ERA, it's a 2.03. And the next closest pitcher in the in the NL is, I think, Freddie Peralta with a 2.65. I wrote these down earlier. I'm not. It was something along those lines. It was like a 60-point ERA difference. Even if Skeens has a losing record, I'm like, there's nobody in the National League throwing the ball the way he is. It's not his fault that his owner won't invest in the team and build an offense. Like he's doing almost literally the best he can in his starts. And yeah, there's a ton of value in that, even if it doesn't show up as wins, because wins are a team thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have a big impact on the game when you basically only play the first half of it. I mean,
that's the other thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did a whole write-up on Skeens. Oh, my battery's out. I did a whole write-up on Skeens and what he does. And because, the belief is if he had 3 runs of support, well, we can look at what that looks like. It's not hard to figure out. And his record would be a little better over his whole career if he had 3 runs of support a game. But there's a lot of games when 3 runs isn't enough. There's a lot of games when 3 runs would be a tie. And so I think it was 6 or 7 games that he would be able to be competitive, and they win most of his starts. And so there is a little bit of drama in this whole thing about Skeens not getting enough support. Like Brian just alluded to, you've got to pitch past the 6. You want 3 runs of support, pitch 9 innings.
Yeah, that's also true. If you're leaving the game after the 5th inning, you can't expect can't expect 4 or 5 runs of support. Like you expect that the support that you get is going to be proportional to the time you're in the game. So yeah, if you want more support, pitch more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no one's pitching more.
No one's pitching more. Well, there are guys that pitch more. I mean, your Philly starters, they all pitch more on average than everybody else. That's why they have more value.
But
and substantially more value. That program for them today is working. I mean, Wheeler's out, so maybe it kind of isn't working as good as we think, but that's that model does work. And so I would say it's less about Bob nutting and more about, can you withstand the load? Can you go 7 innings and limit the other team? Yes. All right. Well, then you'll get your 3 runs more often, and then you'll get more wins.
Yeah, I think it's more about how your organization develops pitchers and the kind of technology they have and the guys they have in there. I mean, it's more of a staff thing. I don't think any one pitcher is that valuable.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking at my thing here. Go ahead and say something, Money, while I look this thing up here.
What do you think, Michael? I mean, I think the organizational philosophy is more important than ever behind pitching. I don't think one guy really matters that much. Do you? Like, one guy's not coming in there and just going to start ripping guys apart, unless you're Skeens, and even so, you're still only playing half the game. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have a tremendous impact when you're playing half a game every 5 games. I mean, you're basically only playing 1/10 of the time that your team's on the field. I think pitching coaches are super important. I mean, we've seen what Blake can do with the Yankees. I mean, he's an absolute wizard at turning. He can turn any vaguely white or Italian 6'3" guy into a 2 ERA reliever. I mean, it's just nuts what Matt Blake can do. I think I would a little bit push back on the idea that that organizational philosophy matters more than just any one guy, though. It's the same discussion that we get with football. Like there's a whole idea of like running backs don't matter. It's really all about your offensive line and your quarterback. It's kind of that same idea. Like I don't think you can just plug in a bunch of. I don't think you could take the Phillies organization, their pitching coaches, and just plug in some replacement level players, some replacement level starters, and get the same production, the same output.
No, I mean, you need some talent, but at the same time, I'm not trying to say that the old way or the new way is better. One's better or worse. They're just different.
Mm-hmm.
I compared it before to. I'm not going to give Kyle Juszczyk the NFL MVP just because the Packers used to hand the ball to Jim Taylor 30 times a game. Like, the fullback position changed, like it's just not what it was. It's just not there. That's how I feel about pitching. It's just not. You're just not doing enough to merit even. I don't think starters, I call them openers, I don't think they're doing enough to merit a Cy Young award. I don't think they matter that much.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a completely different position. I've seen, like, so yes, I think it was either yesterday or 2 days ago. They pulled Shohei. He had thrown 5 hitless, and they pulled him. And I saw people like, why would the Dodgers do this? Well, because they care more about having their guy who's coming back from a second Tommy John. They want him healthy in the playoffs. And if you can't see that a playoff run with your best player is more important than individual accolades for one game, then you're not fundamentally thinking about a baseball season in the correct way. And I saw people saying things like, if you can't throw 5 innings, you shouldn't be a starter. It's like, well, I don't know what that means.
Out of touch with reality, dude.
Yeah,
out of touch with reality, dude.
There's no reason that you have to construct a rotation any specific way. There's no reason you have to use starters for 5 innings or more, or anything like that. We see value when good pitchers go a long time. But if a team could figure out how to make a rotation work where they were basically throwing 9 of their 13 guys for 1 inning a game. If a team could figure that out and it was working for them, then that's great. That's working for them. There's not fundamentally value in having a starter role. Like it's not actually a defined thing. It's just that's how the game has worked for a long time. And, there's people that are just completely out of touch with reality and the fact that the game is changing. Teams want to win, and they're going to do the things that help them win, regardless of what form that takes for their pitchers.
The only thing I would say different than you is not the game is changing. The game has changed. Like, where have these people been for the last 8 years? Like, what are you watching? I don't get it,
mostly sitting on Twitter and complaining is I think a lot of their favorite pastimes.
Yeah. And like, dude, I miss the old style of pitching, dude. I want to see you guys dual complete games, go out on their shield. I don't give a shit if you give up 7 runs each. But it's not going to happen. Like, just because I want it doesn't mean I'm going to look at the game and evaluate from that viewpoint when that's not what's happening. Like,
I think that'd be awesome. I want to see. I enjoy baseball more if there's more balls in play. I would definitely rather watch a ton of balls in play than a ton of strikeouts. But I understand that there's a divergence between that which is entertaining and that which helps teams win more. And teams' jobs is to win more within the rules, and the league's job is to set up the rules so that the game's entertaining. But you can't blame teams for doing things that are not made with entertainment in mind, because the teams are trying to win. Right. That's all I want to do is win.
There's a whole lot of that. I had Jean Levy on the show the other day, and there's a whole lot of that in her new book, Make Me Commissioner. How do we do? There's all these elements that are all doing the right thing to win games. We can get mad at Driveline. They're like, hey, we're just making players better within the confines of this game here, right now, today. If they want to change it, we'll have to adapt. But Driveline's not going away. Players aren't going to stop going to Driveline. No. And so that is where we're at. I would say that the Phillies model it's always been different. Like the Cardinals played a different way than the Brewers played, and the Brewers played different than the Dodgers, and the Dodgers played different than the Orioles. There's a lot of ways to do this. And it's the thing we struggle with on Twitter, especially. The other team gets to be really fucking good at what they do. Like we can say, hey, let's give Paul Skeens three runs every start. He's still going to lose 2/3 of his starts because the other team is good. I don't know why we struggle with this. Like, no, it's not that, Paul Skeens didn't come through. It's that, oh, holy shit. The Marlins have a really good lineup. And if you in any way don't get it right 100% of the time, they're going to wash over the top of you, and I'm not saying the Marlins are the greatest team in the world. They don't have to be, but on their day, they're better than any club in the league. And so that parity is there. And we struggle with parity when it comes to an MVP. And this brings me back to Vlad Guerrero. Am I supposed to believe that a guy who's going to get MVP votes this year isn't comparably as good, as valuable as Judge or Raleigh? I'm not ever going to buy that. Of course he's valuable. Of course he's got a ton of things. If we look and really tabulate it all up, put it all in the weights and all the measures together, the scale is going to go somewhere, but the difference is going to be minor. So yeah, maybe it's Judge, but I don't know. Toronto's had a better year, and they faced the Yankees, and look what happened over the course of 152 games. They're better. Well, that's tough to swallow. That it's like it's Judge or nobody. I just don't. I don't buy into that. Not if you don't know how valuable Guerrero is because you haven't looked, and you're just looking at WAR or something else. This is Pete getting off his soapbox now.
I haven't seen a lot of Guerrero, dude. I know at one point he was like leading the league in average in home runs or something, or almost winning in the Triple Crown lead in July, I believe.
Yeah,
unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't have a problem with him MVP 3.
Sure.
I don't think he's up there with Judge and Raleigh.
Right. Well, Manny Machado was a viable MVP candidate, but he slowed down in the second, the final third of the season, right? So he fell off the pace. Maybe Guerrero's in the same boat. Go ahead, Michael.
I think one thing that gets missed in the in some of the Cal and Judge discussion is like people completely overlook the season Bobby Witt Jr.'s had. He's had an unbelievable year, and if it wasn't for Cal, it would be Judge versus Bobby.
Again,
I think the gap between Judge and Witt is a little bigger, but like I almost haven't seen anybody talk about how good Bobby Witt has been.
No.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't get enough talk at all.
Yeah.
Guy can do everything.
And I think he'll probably finish third in AL voting.
Yeah.
No, true. Yeah, that's a good point.
So let's wrap this up by picking, and you have to pick a Hank Aaron Award winner. So you got to do that too. So Michael, who are your different league Hank Aaron Award winners, and who are your MVPs today? With the caveat of saying, hey, there's 10 games ish left. Chances are things can change. If a team goes on a run, all of a sudden value gets moved around. So we'll say that as a caveat. But today, who are your MVPs and Hanks?
I'm gonna unfortunately be really boring, but I've got Shohei as both in the NL and I've got Judge as both in the AL. But
damn it, Michael, that's not the spirit of it.
I know that's not in the spirit, but yeah, if you look at the, so I think for AL, I think Judge as Hank as the Hank Aaron Award winner. I think that's the most certain of any of them. And then if you look at the NL, there's not anybody that's on Judge's level in the NL, but Shohei is right at the top of the list on OPS and most of those offensive metrics as well. I think Shohei's getting MVP as well. And then I really hope it's Judge in the AL for MVP as well. So I know that's kind of the boring, easy cop out answer. That's what I think is going to happen.
Brian, you got answers for me?
I'm going with Schwarber for MVP, Shohei for Hank Aaron, and I'm going, man, Michael, you almost talked me into having Judge be the AL MVP. I'm going Cal Raleigh to keep my anti-Yankee street cred, and
nice.
I'm going Aaron Judge for the Hank Aaron Award.
I love it. Yeah, I'm probably voting the way you're voting, Brian. I'm probably if Cal gets 60 home runs and the Mariners do anything else to improve their position in the playoffs, and I said we had to decide for today, so I'm going to shut up about that. Today, right now, I'm going to say that Aaron Judge is the Hank and Cal is the MVP. And I'm going to say that Ohtani is the Hank, and maybe I guess I'll say Schwarber. I'm not sold on Schwarber because he's been kind of quiet, but also Phillies are kind of secure in their spot. So Schwarber, I'll say it. I'm going to match your picks. Those are my picks. Also, not very sexy. These are all great players. So
yeah. And I think Ohtani has a good chance to win another MVP. Man, I could see him coming out of the bull, playing right field and closing or something.
Sure. I'd love to see that. That would
be awesome.
It'd be amazing. Yes. I don't know why it don't happen. It'd be amazing.
It's so cool in the playoffs to see the right fielder come in and close like that. That would just be awesome.
Yeah, look, he did it to Trout in the freaking WBC.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a closer. Who's the Dodgers closer? They don't got a closer. They haven't had a
closer
all year.
Yeah, everything's Johnny Allstaff for them.
Doesn't matter who pitches, dude.
Yeah, that's by design, everybody. Like you were saying earlier, this is the design. We'll have 40 pitchers. We can afford it. We'll rotate these guys through. We'll keep guys on the injured list, and let them, mature on that list. And they just do this. But look at how they timed everything. Glass now is Heaton. Snell is great. Kershaw is great. Yamamoto is great. All of a sudden, these aces that they weren't around the whole first half of the year, all of a sudden are healthy and present as we get ready to hit the playoffs. That is not by accident.
No.
Yeah.
For what it's worth with the MVP odds, this is as of 3 days ago. ESPN Bet has Shohei Ohtani as the minus 25,000 favorite to win NL MVP, and they've got Schwarber at 25-1, and then they've got Judge at minus 1,000 and Cal at plus 500. So they are, I mean, they're pretty sure Judge is going to win it, but they are overwhelmingly certain Ohtani is going to win it. For reference, I believe minus 25,000 means you have to bet $25,000 on it to win 100. I think I'm just making sure. Yeah, I'm reading that right. Is minus 25,000.
And how boring is that? Like, that's not the baseball I want to, this is one thing I really don't pay attention to betting, because it does this to me every time. It aggravates me that we're trying to pre-decide something. And then does that force people to go in that direction? I'd rather read about what Jason Stark, how he breaks all this stuff down, and read a long article about that. And if he arrives at Ohtani, great. But I just don't want it to be driven by fantasy leagues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's more going on, and I think it takes away from the game. Again, Pete on a soapbox. Sorry, everybody, but that's just the way I feel about these things.
I definitely agree that fantasy sports has completely ruined the way that a lot of people evaluate players. I think it's worse than football, just because more people, it's bigger to do fantasy football. More people are doing that, but like, people have no idea how to evaluate players, and I think fantasy sports is a large part of that. Yeah.
Well, in fantasy sports, you don't have to go get somebody. You just get to get mad at whoever the player is. Like, hey, who are they going to get instead of that? You can't just magically put a player on your team. Everybody wants a good player, and so you're competing for what's available. And that's why a guy like Max Muncy is powerful for the Dodgers, because he's going to get hurt. He's not going to probably hit 35 home runs, but if he does, you're loving it. But when he is on the field and he is hot, he'll win a game by himself several times. By the way, one of the most valuable players of the Dodgers is Max Muncy. Don't talk about him at all, partly because he gets hurt, but he gets 2 home runs. He had 2 home run games all the time. It's amazing. So you're right. The fantasy thing drives me a little crazy. Brian, anything you want to say in closing?
No, I think you guys covered it with the fantasy stuff.
Yeah. All right. And then Michael, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you. What do you want to say in closing?
I don't know if I have a whole lot either. I can't wait for the postseason. I think September is supposed to be this just super exciting stretch of baseball as we're coming right down to the wire. And instead, I mean, right now, I think I don't know if there's really any exciting races other than seeing whether the Mets are going to make it and seeing whether Cleveland's going to topple Detroit. And it's almost anticlimactic. It's like, it's been such a long season only to have pretty much all the playoff races settled right now. So I can't wait to get to October. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, the Mariners weren't in the same position, though. So there's been some exciting stuff for sure.
That's true. Yeah. The Mariners, the Mets have been slipping. That's both exciting and funny. So.
I want it to be Brewers, and I want it to be Tigers. I want it to be. No, wait, hold on. What do I want it to be? I don't know. Yeah, probably the Brewers and the Tigers in the playoffs. That's what I'd like to see in the World Series. What do you guys want?
Phillies, Yankees.
Phillies, Yankees.
Phillies, Yankees would be awesome.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. Is that so? Both you guys, Phillies, Yankees.
I mean, I want to see the Yankees in it, but I think it'd be awesome to see Skubal pitch in the World Series too. I think Brewers Tigers would be such an interesting matchup. I'd love to see either of those teams in there, but my heart really wants the Yankees to win one this year. So
yeah. To be fair, when I threw these things, I look at like who's never won it, how long has it been. If the Padres beat the Brewers, I'd be fine with that too. But I don't need to root for the Dodgers to win the World Series. I don't need to win. I mean, it's been a while for the Yankees, almost 20 years, and that's not me rubbing it in. I'm just stating the facts. But like, I don't need the Phillies to win another one right now. certainly don't need the Astros for So there's I'd like other markets to get their shot to have a parade. I just think that's good for the game, and I think it's fun. And by the way, nobody pays attention to the Brewers at all, and that's a really fucking good team. They were really, really, really good.
Yeah. The discourse if the Brewers win is going to be really interesting because the Brewers are upheld by kind of the traditional kind of old head baseball folks, the Brewers are upheld as like this paragon of a team that plays with no analytics, and they're just all heart and soul. And it's like they are without a doubt one of the most analytical organizations in baseball history. They've got like almost 60 people in their baseball ops department listed on MLB.com. They've got they've just done this just massive, incredible data revolution over the last 10 years. So it would be interesting to see the Brewers win and see both the analytics and the anti-analytics sides take credit for it. It'd be kind of funny.
And I love watching, and for right now today, and this can change in an instant, but Jackson Chourio is a future Hall of Famer today, like the way he's played, the resumes at his age. And he's the most boring guy in the world to follow. But it's just like Soto. It's like every day a hit, home run, hit, stolen base, hit. And it's just he's just trickling greatness into this jar. Will he be a Hall of Famer? Who the fuck knows? He's 21 years old, but he started this year the youngest everyday player in the game. Youngest, 2 years in a row. And he shouldn't even survive at that. And he's doing great. So imagine if he happens to hit a good long peak because of his age. Oh my gosh. But no one knows. No one ever talks about him or Terang. That guy's awesome. Man, that guy's hard to get out. So they got a ton of talent on that team. And you're right. You can see the data and the way they work it. And they're not dumb at all about that. Yeah, this is a big thing. All right, I'm really going to shut up now. Anything in closing again before we go? No.
Go Phillies.
Go Phillies. All righty. I like it.
Let's go Brankies.
Brankies. All right. I'll be right back. You guys stay here. Everybody else, I'll see